All right, we have Alex Huddleston with us today, the Jiu-Jitsu program director, as well as our martial arts program director. Alex is in charge of all the martial arts. He's the person that I speak to the most when it comes to the martial arts, and he works very closely with um, Jordan Shipman, our kids program director, as well as Sean Madden, our Muay Thai program director, as you all know. Um, and he also works closely with the department heads, the general managers. Him and Ian Lieberman are very well connected as well, since one of them handles operations, the other one handles the martial arts. So they're heavily connected in creating what we have as at Easton. And I'm very lucky to get to work with both of them closely to help build Easton into what it is today. So Alex has been on a couple times in different iterations of this podcast, but today we're going to be pretty specific around updates. We just did our Top Golf leadership training with all the department heads, and we got a lot of feedback there, which was awesome. We'll try to talk about that a little bit today. But before we jump into any of that, we're going to talk about kind of all the stuff we've been working on this past year. I'll give a quick agenda. The belt promotion just happened, and we changed that a bit. The Easton Open was a hit, obviously. I think everybody was there for the Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu side. The Denver Open happened, which we won the gi and the no gi championship, which was amazing. We've also created a bunch of new processes. A big part of what the program directors do is work on processes to help the general managers, department heads, and instructors build and grow their programs to have quality martial arts at their school. So on top of like the visits and stuff and like the meetings they do, a big part of it is creating the curriculum, filming the curriculum, and all these new processes that come along with the martial arts, from the tournaments and the events that we put on. They are handling all the stuff behind the scenes as well as coaching at the events. Um, so that's a big part of what they're doing on the background. I'm glad it's not me. It's a lot of project-based work, which I don't always, do well at. And then the last thing we'll also talk about is, which I'm actually excited about, the competition training we did this year. We did like the advanced classes, did like competition training for the Denver Open, and then the big one was the All Easton training camp happening on Saturdays in Denver. We had, I think, up to 80 people at times.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch we want to talk about. I know I just kind of briefed it all, but we'll let Alex elaborate on all of it. Let's jump into the first one. I think maybe the Easton Open. Let's chat about that first. I think that one dates back the earliest that I can think of, but maybe I'm missing one.
Yeah, the Easton Open, man, we had our largest one ever in this past iteration. It's been something that Easton has put on for years. I think you started right the first few, the ones that were in the academy, and
Yeah.
where we're at today. It's we're inviting other academies to come participate. We had 1,500 matches ran at that event on the jiu-jitsu side, and then Muay Thai had a massive group on that day as well. It's something that I think is really cool expression of our community is we can come together in this one space and have thousands of people on day one, and then another set of people, brand new cats, on day two. It's so wild. I think it's hard to conceptualize how large our community is until we do an event like this where we're all in the same place at once.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been going on for years, but like the past 4 or 5 years, we've really dedicated to improvement and like significant improvement. Like every time we have these events, obviously we do 6 months for each one. We do two a year, and we take a month off after we finish one, and then we do 5 straight months of planning where we meet once a week for an hour and a half, and then outside of that we have a whole team of individuals that's working on different parts of the project.
Yeah.
So a lot goes into this. Like I know people put on a lot of tournaments, but we want to make sure that we do it like really, really well. Like excellent is a core value of ours. So the amount of effort goes into this is huge, but then also the after action reviews. We do a massive after action review that we add on and change and iterate every single time to improve for the next one. And because we're doing them twice a year, and Easton is like our what helps support us, we don't have to run these tournaments all the time to make them like these big money makers. It's just to offer something awesome to Colorado as well as our Easton community. What would you say, like, some of the biggest successes we've had at the Easton Open, like, and maybe changes you've seen since you took them over as the director?
Oh man, a lot of successes and very few of them because of me. We have an incredible team that works crazy hard on this event. Though, like you said, these are months. We plan these months in advance. We have Coach Alicia, who is a huge driving force for the event on the whole weekend, but months leading up to as well. Her organizational skills have been just instrumental for us. Like you said, we've really tried to take that next step. We focused very heavily on the student athlete experience. Like we really wanted to emphasize just the most fulfilling athlete experience we could think of in a really supportive environment that encourages you to try something hard like competing in a way that's still going to be fun. You know, that you're still going to have a good time. Win, lose, or draw, you walk out of there with a smile on your face. And we think that that starts from the moment you're thinking about competing till you're on your way out. You know, like we want to make it as accessible as possible with how you sign up. We want to have it as many matches as you can get for each registration. These are things like double eliminations. These are our smooth comp team working around the clock to get you extra matches. Like if you don't have people in your bracket, we'll create brackets on the fly to give you that chance to compete on the jiu-jitsu side. On the Muay Thai side, it's a very similar approach. We have people pulling double duty. You'll see some of those kids do multiple matches to make sure everybody gets a chance to compete and have like real feedback. You know, we didn't this coming out of the academy and into an off-site location, we wanted this to be something that really became a competition. It didn't lose like the spirit of our core values. So that the student athlete can come out of that competition and have real things that they can work on for their other tournaments, for their competition journey. This might be your first tournament. It might be the only one you ever do. So we want to make sure that it's something that really tests you. You know, like you have to make weight. There's going to be a clock. We have trained referees. Like this is not something where it's just a regular training. Like you feel anticipation for this. You know you got a match coming up. You walk out of there with your competition T-shirt. You know your medals, your feedback from the matches. So for me, the biggest successes was just legitimizing the processes that we've been working on to turn this into an event that really is athlete focused and bringing some benefit to the entire Colorado Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai scene. This is something that's very important to us when we brought it out of house. It wasn't just to make it bigger for our students. It was to make it a place where everyone in Colorado can have this really fulfilling competitive experience because for us, competition matters. Like it really matters. We want to know that what you're training works in real life. So that, yeah, it's not the medal, man. You know, like the biggest success for me is when we have people walk out of that event knowing my jiu-jitsu works, my Muay Thai works. I can use this in real life. Like we find that to be an incredibly empowering experience. And yeah, it's fun to get together with the friends, you know, like having our whole community in one place. That feels like a massive success to me.
I like there's that piece we talked about before, but we should always say it again. Like everybody starts jujitsu and Muay Thai for different reasons, but something that I think everybody should be equipped with is the ability to protect themselves and those they care about. Um, you know, guns aside, right? Like
Right.
weapons aside, right? But like, there's going to be situations where understanding how an altercation breaks down and what happens to your body in that moment.
Yes.
If you've never experienced that before, it can be a fucking horrifying adrenaline dump,
Yeah.
fight or flight moment. And if you're into jujitsu or Muay Thai, and I think regardless if you think you are or not, everybody should be. You should look at this as a way to protect yourself, in my
Right.
opinion, first and foremost, um, because you never know what's going to happen out there.
Yep.
And you can, of course, be really skilled at training, right? Because you're not nervous. But the
Right.
second you take the person out of the training room and put them on the mat against another competitor, even if you know the person, when everybody's watching, you are
Yeah.
going, unless, maybe you're a sociopath, but I think that's a pretty rare, rare example. You're going to feel that adrenaline dump, your legs weak, that fight or flight response, and it's very similar to that feeling you get in a self-defense situation.
Right.
And the only way to really mimic that kind of stuff is putting yourself in that moment. So like people that say I'm not a competitor, man, it's not about competing.
Right.
I mean, some it is for some people, like it comes
Yeah.
that way, but like it is about facing that fear and recognizing what happens to your body and then realizing you can work through it. Because man, it sucks, because I've heard people that have trained for a long time, they get in a situation where these people are animals, they fuck up everybody, and they get in a self-defense situation and they freeze and get punched by some scrawny
Right.
person that doesn't even know what's going, and they don't even know what to do. And it's like, man, you got to compete, you got to see what it feels like so you know how to react in that situation. So yeah, obviously we both feel very strongly about this. uh, so
Yeah, I love that. It's the metal is awesome, but it's going to end up in a box in your closet somewhere. You're going to forget about it. It's how that matches actually even unfold. You're going to kind of forget about those too. But the things that will stay with you forever, like it won't go away. You knowing how you feel under pressure, you knowing how you dealt with pressure, like knowing that you've been in that pressure cooker and came out on the other side. That's something no one can take away from you, and you'll never forget it. Like that version of you is so much more empowered than the version of you who hadn't taken that step. It's like night and day. It's really, really important to us that you get to go through that experience so you can have that. It's great to have belief, but it's much more valuable, in my opinion, to have the experience, the knowing that you can get your martial art to work in real life situations.
yeah. Anyway, this would be a whole podcast in itself. I love the philosophical discussion around like martial arts and the self-defense portion of it. So, moving into that was the Easton Open. As we said, we've talked about it a few times. I feel like since it's happened, but the next one should be, I believe, in October is the plan. Is that the case?
Yep, this all is
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah, and hopefully we have some really cool updates happening for that one. We'll keep them under cuff till we're sure about that.
Right.
Um, and yeah, the team on that side is excellent, and I'm just excited to see how it keeps expanding. Um, for someone that jumps into it, that's been a part of a few different business models, like we kind of treat this as a separate business model. It's fun to see this one actually working and doing good for the community and the people, and yeah, I'm just excited about it to see what was happening with it. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, let's talk about the comp training. I think we had the
Mm-hmm.
Denver Open this year for the IBJJF Denver Open, and I don't care what you think about the IBJJF Denver Open. The best in the world come to compete, at least in the gi, right? But even in the
Yeah.
no gi, you see some amazing people. But the best in the world come to compete in the gi. Like, it's just, if the Worlds just happened, and
Yep.
if you've never been to Worlds before, you look around that room and you see martial arts like you didn't even know was possible. Like, you see shit happening on those mats that looks like it's from the future, and that is what gets us better. Right, like we see it, you see it online and all the videos and shit, but when you see it in person, you see the best in the world from purple belt, even juvenile, and see them competing. You're watching what they're doing. I mean, that's how to raise your level. You know that saying, like you're the average of the five people you hang out with. There's like
Right.
some truth. There's truth in, like, man, you spend time or watch these people and competing at the best in the world, you're instantly going to get better.
Yeah.
Um, so like, regardless of your feelings on how the IBJJF runs things, you can't argue with the talent and skill that is in these events. So
Total.
yeah, my soapbox for a minute. I apologize. Let's talk about the competition training leading up to that.
Oh man, I completely agree, and I want to echo that because I think it's important. There are very few opportunities for you as an adult to participate in athletic events that are truly international, where you legitimately could fight a different country, or even just on a national scale. Like it's very rare for you to be able to participate at the level where you get to compete against someone who traveled across the country to do this match with you. And for us, we see that Denver Open as like this is a chance for one of the premier tournament companies in the world. It's in your backyard. Like there's no reason to miss this opportunity to go against the highest level cats that you possibly could in one shot. In one day, you're fighting cats from all over the country, maybe the world. You want to be there. So for us, we want to give our students the opportunity to prepare for that as much as they can. Because, like we said, the experience is what we're really getting at. And that prep, people tell you all the time, competition is going to make you better. It's like an accelerant to your jiu-jitsu progress. Like the competition is partly helping you get better in such a quick time because you're training so hard for it. You're putting in extra hours, you're getting in extra work, extra reps. So for this training camp, we wanted to provide a space for students to get that extra hard training, those live rounds from those tough scoring positions that you see in competitions and tournaments. We wanted to have that just like, turn on the water hose, full blast, and we're just going to go crazy hard for an hour here. This was really, I was very happy with this. We had enough people, like you mentioned, we had 80 people on the mat at times for this class, which allowed us to split the session into weight class specific training, which I think is really important for competitions. This is your chance to go as hard as you want with someone who's near your same skill level, near your same size. Like, it's as close as we can get to mimicking the competition, in the classroom. So, yeah, I mean, everybody came out. They trained crazy hard. We got some super dope hoodies to come out of it as a team. I'm very, very happy with this. And it was so well received that I'm very sure we're going to do it again. We're getting requests to do it for other competitions, which I think is really cool. I think this is something that's going to stick around Easton for a while now.
Dude, so obviously there's a lot of how do I say this? A lot of people like myself, you and Ian and Sean and all of us, we came up like competing was kind of our like what we did, as
Yeah.
part of why we were in the game. Um, for different, and that's not everybody's reason for getting into jiu-jitsu, right?
Right.
But something that I've really leaned on, especially as I got older. Like it hit me, I think, a couple of years ago. I was sitting in a sauna, and I was like, man, I was feeling kind of like lost. I was like, what is missing? What? And I hadn't competed since I was like 32 because I hurt my knee real bad, and I was out for a year and a half. So I competed at every world championship through brown belt,
Hell yeah, bro.
and then I was getting ready to compete again, and I blew my knee out so bad. And then I became then the GM role took over my life. Then I had a kid, so I stopped competing. And then I felt like this moment of like, I think I was like 40 in the sauna. I was like, what is it why am I not like athletically driven to do what I want to do? And I recognized I didn't have like um, a performance to show up for. And this isn't true for everybody, right? But I
Yeah.
recognize that I do much better if I have something to show up to. Like
Right.
for anything, like if I have a deadline for something, I'm going to get the job done. If I
Yep.
have, if there's a mountain, if there's a peak to get to, I'm going to get to that peak. And we all, I think human nature works this way
Right.
as well. Not everybody. Some people are just disciplined and work hard every day. But for me to really push myself, I needed something, um, to shoot for. And I was like,
Yep.
I'm going to run hard races. And then I'm like, or ultra marathons. And then I'm like, I'm also going to compete in jiu-jitsu this year. And I did those things and I could train more. I trained harder for both of them. And it got me in the best shape of my life in my 40s because I recognized that like, oh man, if I have something on the calendar that I have to show up for, I'm gonna work hard. If I have nothing on the calendar, I can take days off. I'm like late. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. What's the purpose? Who cares? Oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I won't get the gains I want or something, right? So I think not only does this competition training help us get there, but putting something on the calendar to train for and then doing like intentional training towards it, like this comp training class that
Yeah.
you set up, really will jump you in all the ways, mentally, physically. It's just so incredibly powerful, and I just think people should recognize that.
Dude, I love that point because this is something like you said, having something to look forward to is so powerful, and it's the community aspect of the training camp was really nice because, like you said, there's that dip that you go through in a training camp where you start to really get tired, you're kind of beat up, and you can find all the reasons to not go train. And having the community all agree, we're going to show up at this time, we're going to work crazy hard. I don't care if you're tired, you're going to be there because your teammate's going to be there. There's something about that, like we're doing it together. I may take days off when I'm tired for myself, but if I know the group is training at this time, like I'm going to show up for the group. And it helps me get through that dip, you know? So you saw in the training camp, like, man, that second session, we were exhausted, right? Like everyone is so tired. And you see everybody show up again on week 3. And then we get into week 4 and you're starting to track up. Like it was worth it, you know, like you made it through it. And because of the group, you probably made it through it a little bit stronger than you would have if you had done it on your own, you know? So I love the idea of having things on the schedule and doing it together.
I love the point about like I think this is a really key one, right? Like we used to do it in small groups of like 4 or 5, and it's like, man, you want to sit out today? It's like, man, first of all, your team's probably going to make fun of you, depending on depending on the teammates you
Right,
have,
right.
you know. But there's also like, man, I'm letting them down. Like if I don't show up and they have something coming up, like, man, it's gonna hurt them, not
Yeah.
just me. And I think like selflessness and conscientiousness really can play a massive part in what it means to show up for others and yourself. Like I think about the people that haven't competed before, but or had kids. Man, you have a kid coming. What are you going to do? You're going to prep for that kid like crazy because you have a deadline to
Right.
get it done. But this translates to everything. Like so, I love the idea of like it's not just about goals, but like just seeing how it works for you. Set up something. Set up a competition. Set up a race. Set up a smoker. Plan to do the next Easton Open. Whatever it is, you're gonna hate part of it, right? You're gonna maybe hate the day of the event, but I
Yeah.
fucking guarantee with my life on it that the day after the event or as soon as that event's over, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I did that." Every time.
Yep. Totally, man. I love that. I love that so much. Like, take it, don't let it just be a dream, you know? Put a date on it, give you a deadline, like, turn it into a goal. Let it be a real actionable plan. Give yourself those steps to get there. That's a powerful way to approach life for sure. And for me, like, jujitsu, Muay Thai, MMA, like, that stuff really helped me do that in my personal life. Like I didn't really understand that until someone taught it to me on the mats, you know?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So back to the competition training. I think what Alex brought back in this competition training is definitely like what I came up doing as well. I mean, he did it much better with a huge group of people, but it really, I got to do the last one. And for me, it felt like who was a competitor most of my life. Like it felt like, man, this is the stuff I love. Like I have a hard time sitting in class. I fall asleep within 10 minutes of technique. I'm just like falling asleep on the side of the mat. It's so hard for me to pay attention. This
Yeah.
has been true since I was a white belt. Like,
Yeah.
but this kind of training for me is like, I live for it. It's not good for my body all the time, but you can take care of yourself accordingly. But it was amazing to see how strong people are and what they can fight through. And then watching them like wanting to quit and then being like, nah, man, this isn't, no, you can keep going. And then all of a sudden they keep going. And it's like, see, you could still do it, you know?
Oh, dude, yes. I love that. God, that is like, that was the whole point of the camp, you know, was to have those moments where like you're dead tired and everything in you is screaming to give up and you get up anyway. You know, like that's a skill, man. That's something we can practice. And in those sessions, like I think you could really see it in the tournament. You see that student like, yeah, man, it's not always going to go great. You can do everything perfect and it can still not work out well. Like that's life. Like that's how it goes. Like you saw students in bottom side control and maybe before that camp, it's like, oh, this is where I go. I guess I'm stuck here for the rest of the match.
Nah,
And
bullshit.
yeah, man, you see those cats that did that camp, like, no, I believe in myself because I have real data that I've proven I can get out of here. I've proven I can score even when I'm tired. Like, I can succeed even when it's not going well. And that to me is wildly empowering and will change your life off the mats as well.
It's all a mental. It's all a mental game, right? I know anybody's listening to sports podcasts and performance
Yeah.
podcasts. There's a million books on it, so I guess we probably don't need to go down that rabbit hole forever. But like, there's always that thing where it's like, man, it's your brain saying stop. Like, how are we hunters and gatherers? Like, there's so much data on what humans can do. You know,
Yeah.
like you're not any different. like
Right.
pending some serious disability, you're not any different, right? Like you just
No.
haven't found it yet. You haven't found that wall to break through and realize there's 10 more walls you can break through after that. And I fucking
Heard.
love this. It's what fires me up.
Dudes.
My poor kids. I heard Leo, my little one, saying, "Calvin, that's impossible." And Calvin goes,
Ooh.
"Leo, that's not impossible. We just haven't figured out how to do it yet." And I'm like,
Hey.
"Yeah!"
What a growth mindset,
It
man. I love
sinks
that.
in. Those poor guys, or they're gonna hate me. All right, sweet. So, like you said, we're gonna keep doing more of these, and I think we can also make them where it's like one thing we have to get with Alex is like where he doesn't kill himself for each one of these things, like set up a process and hand some of these things off, um, so he doesn't die on us because he cares too much. But moving on, I'll say that publicly so everybody can hear it. So then let's move on to the Denver Open. Let's talk about the results of this training camp and how you felt it all went.
Oh man, that was the Denver Open was awesome this year. The jiu-jitsu scene in Colorado is so high. It's been growing for so long. I think people forget the first UFC was here. Fighting has been here for a really long time. Like there's schools. I mean, Easton's not the only jiu-jitsu program that's been around for a long time in this state, and there's also the fact that because this is an IBJJF, there are going to be lots of out of town cats traveling for this. So this turns into a competition with real major international associations competing against each other on the team level. And then that turns into, that's made up of literally hundreds of individual athletes with all these different matches. We took 125 unique individuals to this tournament, and that worked out to 100 some odd registrations in the gi and 65 in no gi, both of which is our largest number of participants ever. We scored the most points that we ever have. This is 4 years in a row now. Most participants, most points, most matches won, most medalists, most gold medalists. Like something that I really, really appreciate about Easton is with our core values, it's just so obvious like what's the next step. If we're chasing excellence, how do we keep improving? How do we keep this iterative process going? And this year I think we got to really see a lot of work that's been done for the last couple decades really that fruition, like the seeds planted. We had I think we are right at 15 black belts competing at the Denver Open, which is crazy, like thinking about the years of classes, the years of coaches, the years of staff, like all these different things that kind of come together for one weekend. I think is really cool if we zoom out and see how it all ties together. And yeah, the jiu-jitsu scene is so strong here. Atos always has a big team. Carlson Gracie had a big team. There's a bunch of great jiu-jitsu. So to me, the Denver Open is kind of like the Colorado Jiu-Jitsu Super Bowl. Like this is where all the
Yeah.
best cats are going to show up on the same day, and throwing down heavy in there. It's not always going to work out in your favor because you're fighting some of the best cats in the world. But just going in there and throwing down, like man, you come out of that better, like regardless of the experience. So I'm stoked. We won. We won the gi division. We won the no gi division on the team sides on both the team awards. But for me, like that's awesome. But it was the thing that I take away from these sort of events is watching people go out and accomplish something that is just flat out hard. Like
Yeah.
there's no way around it. You didn't get gifted this. It wasn't just something that you just showed up and it worked out for you. Like you put in years of effort for that moment, and to see it materialize is just, man, I'm gonna cry about it on your podcast. Like it's something that you can, it matters to people, and that's pretty fucking meaningful, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think about the I was thinking about the competition too, like what it would look like. This is maybe this is controversial, but I've been thinking about it. Like what it would look like if we had all of our top guys able to compete too. Like how that would look, because a lot of our top guys can't get like they were sick or they were busy, and this is always the case. But we had like there's probably 15 people that didn't compete that are a good age to compete that are our best in the academy, and what that would look like for the scoreboard if we could, because I would think out of those 15 people, I would say 80% would probably gold medal, and what that would look like for us if we could get that. And it's hard, right? Like to do that, right? Like we'd have to like make changes, but anyway, just something I was thinking about at the moment when looking at the scores.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so dope if we could have everything work out perfect, that I really appreciate is it doesn't have to, and you can still find that success. Like this
Yeah,
is something that is really cool about our experience this year at the Denver Open is we didn't win every match. Like it didn't go our way. We had some of our best cats have a rough day. And as a team, we still showed up well enough across the board to succeed anyway in that team trophy. Like we had the whole experience, and I think that really matters. It wasn't something that just worked out for us. We made that shit happen. So with the
yeah,
people that showed up that they could, I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, let's see. Going down past the Denver Open. I guess the next thing. This one's pretty. This one just happened this weekend. We did our big golf promotion. But yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of a preview of that, the build up, and how it went, and maybe any changes that took place for people to hear about.
Oof, yeah, this was pretty unique. We have historically these belt promotions. We do them twice a year. We bring the whole association together, and we do all the ranks. Blue, purple, brown, and black. Um, Last year, we graduated 135 belts, and that ended up being a very long day. So this year, we tried to mix it up. We left the blue belts out of it. We turned it into an upper belt promotion event. So we did just the purple, brown, and black. We graduated 23 new purple belts across the association and 25 new brown belts. And this actually, we had 19 black belts on this card as well. So we still graduated, 70 people. But this experience, yeah, it's wild, right? This was pretty cool, man. At one point, um, with the Denver mat space being so large, we can get a gang of people on the mat. So we had 52 different groups of two going at once, and lines out the door of people trying to get in anyway. We had over 200 people dressed out in the gi, and it was just something that it's just something really unique about having us all in the same room together. Because we did purple, brown, and black belts, we're able to Shark Tank the whole hour before the training. So you're down the whole time before you get your promotion, getting beat up by the whole community. We always do our black belt stripes and our black belts, the new black belts. And something that I really enjoy about this experience is, none of this happens without Professor Amal, right? Doing what he did in the past, and seeing him in this moment, just seeing he planted this seed decades ago, and seeing what the fruits of that labor, what that looks like these days, seeing all the different academies wave him over to come do their big group promotion pick. It's incredible, man. Like, there's literally thousands of lives affected by jiu-jitsu in a positive way. These are one of those days that's really cool. Like you said, it is a lot of work, but man, it's the kind of work that feels so good you don't notice it. You don't realize you're so tired till it's over.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Um, yeah, and obviously the the eccentric man that went to Brazil at 26 to chase after something he heard called jujitsu because he learned about it in a garage in Santa
Right.
Fe or whatever, right? It was like 95, 90, I don't know, in the 90s. To see what that seed has turned into is pretty amazing. And yeah, much love because of that. Beautiful, man. Let's see. I guess there's the other things I was going to talk about. I know we've been doing the women's randoris as well as the women's sparring events, as well as the teen randoris, teen promotions. Anything on those things you want to comment on?
Oh yeah, this is something that, you know, to me, if there's not a space on the mat for everyone, then there's not a space for anyone. So the idea that we have at Easton is we want to make jiu-jitsu where everyone can get in and train and get these benefits in their lives. So uh, part of that is really advocating for groups that it's more difficult for them to be comfortable on the mats. Like the teen randoris, man, like being a teen in jiu-jitsu, like some of these kids like a Flynn, who grew up their whole life training, but they're still 14, right? They're still a youngin, so they got black belt skills, but they don't always get to train with their peers. Like creating a space for teens to train together. Jordan has done such a great job with making that a space where these kids can come in and just train bananas. We're too old to keep up with them now. Like watching that Randori, like this is it. They need this space so they can get out and really run and let those techniques fly.
Yeah.
You can see them growing and getting better because they get to train with people like themselves.
Dope.
I feel the same way about our women's Randoris. This is something we have this next one scheduled for the end of June. This is, as everyone knows, my wife is trained for over a decade now. Like, I think it's really important to give people this space for them to not just exist, but to flourish, right? To where they can get the same amount of empowerment that everyone gets from the martial arts. So, our jiu-jitsu women's open mats, and we do these on the Muay Thai side as well with the Muay Thai group. The idea here is that this is not that like space for, hey, this is your first time at jiu-jitsu. I love that. We have that too. We have our women's classes at all our locations to help people start jiu-jitsu and get comfortable with the training. This is a space for our women practitioners to just beat each other up. Like this is a 90-minute session where we're going to go hard. Like it's going to be hard training because there's no exceptions. We all have to go through that process. And here's a chance for you to do it with someone like yourself. And man, representation fucking matters. Like you may not get to train with a ton of female upper belts where you're at, right? Whether that's at one of our locations or at a different academy in Colorado. But in this session, we open this up to everyone. We invite everyone, all our ladies that train jiu-jitsu in Colorado to these sessions. You are going to train with women black belts. Like you're going to train with a woman who has trained for over a decade. She's a gangster at jiu-jitsu, and she's going to beat you up. And that, like, man, that matters. You need to feel that. You need to know what it feels like for a peer, a real peer, to be really that good at jiu-jitsu and show you, kind of light the path before you so you know where to go. You have somewhere to reach for. So these are on the calendar. These are repetitive events because it's not just a one and done for us. We want this to be supportive, to help grow and help share the journey.
Badass, man. I love. I think what we're super fortunate with is that Lee Easton is big enough where we have the resources and the individual like feedback to see what it is that we need and we take it. Like having the women's randori, having the women's sparring, having the teens special belt promotion, having the teens randori. Like these are groups that if you look at a whole picture, Easton has a good amount, right? But at the same time, we have a big company, and if you bring them together, we actually have a good amount of people that fit into those individual categories. And
Yeah.
putting the time in, the effort, and the intention to make sure this is taking place, and also inviting outside schools into it, which is like part of the plan. Like, yeah, come train with the women's randori, come train with the spot. Like, we're trying to figure that out. It takes time, but I love how intentional we are about making this happen and taking steps in the direction to get more people involved. And I love, for me, obviously, like you're gonna get your ass kicked in some of these sessions, but that's what they're for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Preach. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked to hear that. Let's see. The other thing, we talked about at the beginning of this call or the beginning of this podcast is the role of the program directors. Like I think sometimes so let's talk about Top Golf and a little bit roles and stuff. Like I think sometimes we get confused on like what roles are for what role everybody is playing in the company and what their job is. And everything is everybody's jobs in some ways. Like we should never like ignore deficiencies. If we're at the academy and we see trash on the floor, we should always pick up trash on the floor. We should always be willing to help each other out because this is a community, not just a job. So like we always try to think about that. But like there's specific things we built in this company to help create the best martial arts possible. And then the program director is a big piece of what their job is to like really guide the curriculum and the quality of martial arts, as well as like getting us outside of Easton and competing and showing what we've done. And networking. There's a bit of networking happening. Like Madden is the king of this, right? Because he travels the world
Yeah.
constantly. Uh, but then going out and doing the research and bringing it into the academies and improving upon it and making it, as we call it, the Easton style.
Right.
And I think the way for anybody that's listening is that the program director was kind of like an idea from like colleges, right? Like what is it that you look at college? You have the person in charge of the school, but then you have a person in charge of like the economics department, right? And you want to make sure that person is really has a full understanding of economics and I don't want to butcher this. I was an English lit major and not a very good one, so I don't want to screw up. But this is where the idea came from, right? Like you want somebody sitting at the top that's always going to make sure that the teachers are doing the best they can at their job. And then within that, you're going to have people that are very skilled. So the goal with like even in the college time, you have your 101 courses and 102 courses, and then you have your like 3,000 level, 4,000 levels in grad courses. And in those courses, there's got to be more freedom and more specialization that happens versus the 101 courses, right? Or the 102 courses, because we need everybody to get this baseline down. Like in Bio 101, you need to understand Bio 101 before you jump into the higher level biology because you'll miss all the language. You'll be speaking a different language within those other people in those courses. So the way we look at this, the program directors build our fundamentals and intermediate curriculum so we have all a baseline that we think is the most effective baseline that our martial arts should have. And from there, and then within that, right, teachers get like I had teachers that taught 101 courses. They're wildly different, right? I used to have Nick Klein and Elliot Marshall teach fundamentals and Amal Easton. And my God, those were different classes, right? But they still taught the same curriculum. And it was just a different class I would receive when I was there. And I would still get the same knowledge no matter what class I went to. And I think the program director's job is to make sure we're doing the best fundamentals and intermediate possible and building us and getting us ready for our real career in jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, which is going to take place in advanced. It's going to really start happening at blue and purple belt. You're just a beginner trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And that's why fundamentals and intermediate are so specific. And we need everybody walking the same path. So when we get to the advanced class, you can start branching out into who you are, right? Like I was a top player. Ian was a bottom player. Like it was, and then we found and then eventually we switched, it's like, you keep
Yeah.
getting better. And the program director's job is to making sure that that works and then help guide the advanced stuff. And then that can happen through like making sure that we're competing really like and improving our game. And then they're constant like Alex nerding out about jujitsu is way beyond what I understand or even care about. Same thing with Sean and Jordan. Like they
Right.
fucking nerd out on this stuff. And I mean that as a compliment. And that's why they're in this role. Yeah, and I just the importance of their role and to our curriculum and student body is so key. And then of course there's the other side of it, like extracurriculars, like the Easton Open, making sure we're doing that correct properly. The belt promotions, the meetings with the DHs, so the DHs are heard, connected with the general manager, so the general managers can give feedback on what's working and what's not working. Um, yeah, just kind of a brief rundown. And they get to and I get to talk to all of them, which is great. Um, any thoughts on all of the whole spiel I just
Oh, bro, I think
yeah.
you nailed it. I think it's a very cool role to be a part of and to get to participate in. It's in a lot of ways, like you said, it's just someone kind of helping take all the voices and pull them together in like that point of the spear. We have so many great practitioners, we have so many great coaches, instructors, and black belts and black shirts. Like there's so much great knowledge, and it's really useful to have someone who can kind of just corral it all together and give it a pathway. And we're just thinking about like, here's the vision, and here's how the PD can help you get where you're going, your academy where it's going, our association where it's going. And it's it's something that's like you said, like there's a living document sort of process here. Like these curriculums are never done. It's never just this is something that over and we move on. The PD is constantly responsible for keeping up with the current meta of your respective martial art. Like we want to make sure our students are at the cutting edge of the most efficient ways to learn, the most efficient ways to practice, the most efficient ways to execute a certain technique. These things change, they grow, and they adapt. And it's really important for us at Easton, like with this core value of chasing excellence. Like we're never going to be satisfied with, well, this is how we did it 10 years ago. Like we're going to take what we did 10 years ago and use that to build and grow and keep up with the current meta. We want to help set standards, not rest on our laurels of what we did in the past. Like what we did in the past is empowering where we're moving in the future. And we think that it's really important for our instructors to have access to the best continuing education. We're constantly looking at different ways to do video trainings or in-person trainings. Like we bring out the seminars. We have all these huge Google Drives with all these technique videos. Like for us, we want to make it as easy as possible for our instructors to become the best instructors and practitioners that they can, because we know that that is going to help our students do the same thing. And as you've seen, like, man, we have instructors now, we have students now who would have mopped the floor with me when I was a blue belt, and
Oh
that's
my
thanks
God.
to, the community choosing to continue to grow and to continue to adapt. It's a living thing and it's got to be cared for.
You nailed it. I think that part of how far it's come since you watch blue belts now to what we knew at blue belts, right? And I think
Oh,
that's
dude.
I think that's recognizing all of it though. Like whatever your role in this in at Easton is, student, instructor, leadership, front desk, cleaner, orientation instructor, like all of it has grown and iterated. And I think we talked about this in our big meeting today. We do a program director, general manager meeting every other week just to make sure we're connected and aligned. And one thing we talked about today is like recognizing the successes of our past and not always fixating on the problems that are in front of us. Like, why isn't this working? It's like, wait a minute. A year ago, we would have loved to have it here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so let's also celebrate that moment, because then in the moment when you're like frustrated, things aren't working the way you want them to, you're like, okay, I don't have to be frustrated because we improve on things. And so this is just one thing we have to improve upon. Um, that's obviously hard. That's that's a lot of work in mindfulness, right? But that's a whole nother
Yeah.
thing to discuss. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about today is we did that Top Golf thing, and I talked about this a bit. Is one thing that we're learning, and we don't have an answer yet, right? Is that we did this Top Golf feedback form so people could like give to all the staff, and we got a lot of feedback, and it was all excellent feedback. Some was confusing, so I didn't really know what it meant, and since it was anonymous, I don't know who to ask what they meant by it. But a
Yeah.
good theme we found was like communication. Sometimes, not always, like some people love communication, they think it's amazing,
Mhm.
but some are like, man, sometimes I'm confused about what's going on, or I want information from the leaders at the top to give us information. And what we're recognizing is that a lot of the information is out there, and we do open up lines of communication for people. But what's happening is, I don't think a big thing we use is Bloom, which or traction tools or the EOS operating system. What's happening in regard to this is like sometimes the game of telephone happens, and if like I say something and the person that heard it only heard 50% of it, then they give that 50% to their staff. They're getting a much different version than what was put out there. And I think
Right.
these type of these bottlenecks or miscommunications are causing confusion. So one thing we're really thinking about and working on right now is like, how can we get the information directly to the front lines and then have direct access back? And then the individual L10 meetings, like the department head meetings and the GM meeting, will be places where the problems can be solved with questions, but maybe the information get to everybody right away, and then we solve the problems in the individual L10 meetings. And that's something that I think, we're going to start doing with the curriculum emails. We'll start sending out all the emails to
Yeah.
everybody, and then they can ask direct questions to the PDs. And there's a few other things we're working on as well to continue to make clear line of communication take place. So our goal is always as much transparency as humanly possible, and making sure we have email and Voxer for those purposes. So there's somebody always available to you to talk to. But yeah, we'll keep trying, and we're going to keep getting better at it.
Oh yeah.
Um, anything else you want to add, Alex, before we close out? What are you reading
Oh.
right now, by the way? Two things. What's your favorite book, and what are you reading right now?
Oh no. Okay, so my favorite book. That's pretty hard.
Okay, well, something that resonated with you. How about that?
So let's see. I really like. Um, I'm a sucker for the conceptual, or like I guess you could like fall into like the self improvement kind of books. I'm a big fan of books that help me with like how I think, or like learning new ways to learn. Like The Art of Learning, I think is a great one that we ask our staff to look at. I'm a big fan right now of. I'm going back and doing it again. Oh my god, the it's a little bit personal, but the No Self, No Problem. I'm a big fan of this book right now. I like to go back and visit it. Another book that I'm a really big fan of, maybe my favorite book, The Beginner's Mind. I think this is something that is really, really helpful to go back and read again. Like your quote that you really like, you're not the same person stepping in that same river, right? Like this idea of as we grow and get new skills, I think The Beginner's Mind is a nice book to go back and revisit, because even though I feel like I've got some things figured out, like because I'm a different person with these new things that I've figured out, there's a new way to look at that. And there's I don't want to get stuck. For me, I feel like I really dislike the idea of feeling like I'm calcifying into like a thought process, or into a series of this is how I do this. I love routines, but I don't want to feel stifled by them. So things like Beginner's Mind, like it helps me come back to something a process that I really like, and realize that this could be different. Being open to that idea is something that has changed my life, and I like to revisit that one. I mean, literally yearly, so I can go back into that cycle of like feeling like I'm continuing to grow, and not setting something down just because I feel like I think I figured it out.
Ooh, I have a question that I know my thought answer is to, but I'm really curious about yours. Do you find since self-help is kind of like I don't want to just use that as the example, but I totally agree. Like kind of open your mind and broaden your perspectives and just see how other people do things and how. Anyway, do you think the books that you revisit or are that are your favorites are things that you have a proclivity to like do the things that the book is telling you not to do, to put it loosely? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, totally. I love that idea. Like it's speaking to me because it's addressing some like shadow version of myself.
Yeah.
Struggle totally. So yeah, man, like I think I love that, because that's something I really struggled with that before I came to martial arts in general. Like I came to fighting just to try to make money, like, and that was all I saw it as. And that was such a limited approach that I didn't get the benefits of the things that we've been talking about on this podcast. Like I didn't think about how this was helping me off the mats. Like if it helped my bank account, yeah, that's great. But other than that, it was like that was all it was. And thinking about who I was before I met training, the version of me that I believe, like those limiting beliefs, right? Like that idea of like this is who I am, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. Those were so concrete for me before I came to martial arts, before I came into jiu-jitsu specifically.
Yeah.
And now like reading like that book, that Beginner's Mind, like coming back to that book, it really does speak to that side of me, because I will fall back into those habits. I can feel it. Like I learn a new technique, like, oh man, the Barato Plata is so cool right now. And I can feel myself like, oh, I can't do that. Like that's not for me. And I haven't met a technique in jiu-jitsu that you can't do, like regardless of your body type. Like, how many times I heard I can't do barambolos because I'm an ultra heavyweight. Like that stuff it's not real, man. You don't have to participate in that. And I think that, yeah, I think I'm drawn to that idea because I've made some breakthroughs through some walls that I thought were really permanent for me. And I like to remind myself like, hey, don't fall in that trap again. Like that's not real. Like where you are right now, it doesn't have to be where you need to be forever. And yeah, I think it's important to revisit that for me because it's something that I can struggle with.
Man, I wholeheartedly agree. There's that makes a lot of sense around. And anybody that hasn't trained with Alex, he's like training with the fucking featherweight. The way he moves and the way he like can do every technique so fluidly, and he's not using his strength. So if he ever does use his strength, it's like you have this featherweight suddenly that's fucking 6'7" that's going to crush you into a can. So it's
Only
quite an
when I get tired.
experience. It's quite an experience. But to that, I said this earlier about like you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with, which I don't fully believe, but there is something to this. And what I mean by that is what your mind is doing, or you are what you eat, what your body is eating, like the inputs that go into you really create the outputs that are coming out of you. And I have, for me, like certain things that I very much struggle with. And I find that and you discover this through reading, honestly, in my opinion, or eating, right? Like you eat poorly, you see the results of it, or you don't exercise, you see the results of it. And then with your mind, like if you're not, like say you have issues with certain things, if you focus on those issues, like I read books on like anger management all the time.
Mhm.
And if I'm reading those books like every day, I have to, or parenting, or being a better partner, or focus on whatever it is that I really want to focus on. And for me, it's my buckets of like family and work and physical self, like spirituality. If I always have those three things in my quiver that I'm focusing on, it doesn't have to be hours. It can be 10, 15 minutes of each. I do such a better job showing up in the areas that I struggle with. And I know what I struggle with. Like I circle the drain on people problems. I'm quick to get mad. Um, and there's a couple other things. And it all boils down to mindfulness, really. And so for me, like if I'm putting stuff into my brain around stuff that I struggle with, and I'm not trying to preach here, and I'm practicing like my meditation, I can take all that information I'm putting in and then I meditate, then I can easily throughout the day be more mindful of how I'm coming across and work on my weaknesses. So it really matters. Like I remember Beginner's Mind, such an amazing book. Like I read
Yeah.
that around the same time as the Mindfulness for Success, and those two books, those weren't books that I haven't even revisited them, but they changed my life completely. Like those are the certain books that like I read them and I'm like, oh, I'm a different person now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Uh, so like uh, this idea of input creates our output, I think is wildly important to keep in mind if you're trying to like change parts of yourself that you don't like, or at least it's not change but like work on them. You can't just say it, right?
Yeah.
You gotta do the work.
For
You're not gonna get
me,
better at jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai just because you watch videos.
yeah, yes, you got to understand it. I think that's what the reading is so cool, and this I really love. Like, I feel like jujitsu did that for me personally, and then when I met Easton, like our community does this on a daily basis. I mean, like we literally have an Audible account for the staff. Like, this is something that we really lean in on, and I love that idea of like this is something that is an iterative process. Like where you are now, like I would imagine most of our staff couldn't do what they do now when they first started working at Easton. Like we've gained all these new skills, you learn all these new things, you change and grow, and that doesn't happen because you told yourself to. That happened because you understood why you needed to, and you understood the process of how to do those things. Like it's not enough to just set the goal. Like you got to have the date, you got to have the plan. Where are your action steps? Like these sort of things. Like that sort of like process focused thinking is something that martial arts lends itself very well to, and I really appreciate that our community is so bought into that.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say then, just because on this note, um, is that Alex just kind of mentioned it. Man, if there's something you're not understanding, it's probably not because it's a bad idea. It may be, but it's maybe because you're not understanding the context or the why behind it. And I think
Mhm.
it's really important if you hear an initiative that you're like, this seems stupid. Are they just forcing us to do this? I think it's incredibly important to recognize, nah, man, that's not who we are. Like, there's always a why
Right.
behind it. And if you didn't get the why you understand, reach out. I will talk till I'm blue in the face about why we do things. Everything is so well, at least try to be well thought out and discussion, and nothing is implemented without a lot of thought put into it. So please, if something ever comes across that doesn't make sense to you, man, ask why. Man, start with why always. Ideally, your leaders are doing that for you, but we're all human and make mistakes and don't think about how to do things sometimes. We're doing our best, but you can always ask too. You're invited to. Alex, thanks for the amazing hour. I really appreciate it. I think that was a perfect podcast, so Phipps won't have to edit anything, which will make him really happy. Hopefully, this gets released in the next couple of days. I really
Oh
appreciate you,
man,
man.
thank you so much. This was awesome, and getting to talk to everybody. Just say I've come train. I better see you on the mat soon.
Fuck yeah, get out there and train. Later, everybody.